There's a lot of electric vehicle charging stocks out there, so I found the top 5 that you can buy now. It's estimated that there will be over 27 million electric vehicles in the United States by 2030. That's 12 times more than there are today, and with so many electric vehicles on the road, there's going to be a lot of demand to charge them. The first company on the list is ChargePoint, led by Pasquale Romano. They have the largest network of public Level 2 charging stations in the world, but ChargePoint doesn't own their stations. Instead, they sell them to organizations and businesses who go on to own the stations themselves. ChargePoint also requires station owners to subscribe to their cloud subscription in order to stay on the ChargePoint network. Another service offered by ChargePoint is called Assure, which offers monitoring, maintenance, and support that station owners can use for a more hands-off approach to operating their stations. ChargePoint also owns VeraCity, an electric fleet management provider, and they own Has2Be, a provider of charging station software. In 2021, ChargePoint posted $241 million of revenue. After subtracting the costs, they came out with a $54 million gross profit. But after subtracting their operating expenses, ChargePoint ended up losing $265 million last year. Fortunately, ChargePoint grew its revenue by 90% last year. If this growth keeps up, ChargePoint could become profitable within the next few years. ChargePoint's stock is trading at $17.68 per share right now at a $6 billion valuation. That's 18 times higher than their sales over the past year and 15 times their book value. I don't own any ChargePoint stock because the valuation has just been a bit too high for me. I like ChargePoint's business model, and I think it's one of the safer companies on this list to invest in at this point, so if the valuation comes down from where it's at, I might buy some ChargePoint stock. The next company is EVgo, led by Kathy Zoy. They own and operate more than 850 DC fast charging stations in the United States. Unlike ChargePoint, EVgo is the owner and operator of its stations. They make money selling the electricity they provide instead of selling the station hardware like ChargePoint does. Because of this, EVgo earns more revenue per station than ChargePoint does in the long term. EVgo also owns PlugShare, an electric vehicle charging station map. Users can view charging stations and write comments on stations for other users to see. What's really cool about PlugShare is that they show pretty much every charging network out there, so almost every EV owner has the PlugShare app on their phone. EVgo posted revenues of $22 million in 2021. Subtracting the costs, they had a $6.8 million gross loss. And after operating expenses, EVgo lost $90 million last year. Luckily, EVgo has also been growing their revenues a lot, up 84% in 2021. EVgo's stock is trading at $9.47 per share at a valuation of $2.46 billion. That's 82 times their sales over the past year and 4.4 times their book value. I don't own any EVgo stock for 2 reasons. The first is that it isn't my favorite business model for their reliance on high gross margins on the electricity they sell. This makes it easy for other companies to undercut their prices. And the second reason is that their $2.46 billion valuation is extremely high for where the company is at right now in terms of revenue. Next up is Volta. Their charging stations show advertisements to people walking through the parking lot. They have over 2,900 stations, and because of their advertising model, they bring in the most revenue per station in the entire industry. Volta owns and operates their stations like EVgo, and they control the ads that run on the screens. Because of this, Volta is just as much of an advertising company as it is an EV charging company. So their business model is a lot more difficult for other companies to replicate. At the moment, the charging provided at most of Volta's stations is free, but drivers will need to start paying to charge beginning right now in Q3 this year. This will provide Volta with even more revenue. But Volta isn't in a good spot financially. They're running low on cash, and with the amount they've needed to spend to grow their network, it seems Volta will run out of money soon. They've been trying to raise money for a number of months now, but if they aren't able to, then Volta probably won't make it much longer. In addition, the founder and CEO unexpectedly left the company earlier this year, and Volta hasn't managed to fill the role yet. Right now, Volta is led by Vince Cubbage, their second interim CEO. Because of these risks, Volta's stock trades at a price of $2.12 per share at a $358 million valuation. That's only 8 times their sales and 1.8 times their book value. I don't own any Volta stock because of these risks, but they do have one of my favorite business models out of these companies. If they're able to solve some of their issues, I might buy some Volta stock in the future. Next on the list is Blink, led by Michael Farkas. Blink's strategy is to acquire other charging companies to grow their network of stations. They operate the Blink network, but in addition they also own Blue Corner, EV Charging, and SemiConnect. Blink combines both ChargePoint and EVgo's business models, selling the station hardware in some cases and owning the stations in others. Blink says that they have contracted, sold, or deployed more than 51,000 chargers, but this includes both ownership models they use and it's across all of the networks that they own. It even includes non-networked stations that they have no control over. Blink's big number of 51,000 chargers doesn't give us much to go off of when comparing Blink to other networks because there's so many different chargers mixed into that. Blink stock trades for $21.83 per share at a $1.1 billion valuation. That's 31 times their sales and 3.8 times their book value. I don't own any Blink stock because I think they need to streamline their products. They have so many different charging station models after acquiring these companies, so I think they should simplify their lineup. I'm also not a fan of their method of growing their business through acquisitions. Most of their growth recently has come from acquiring other charging networks, which leads me to wonder how much faith they have in their own stations. And the last company on the list is Tesla, led by Elon Musk. As many of you know, they manufacture electric vehicles, but they also build charging stations for their drivers to use. Tesla owns and operates their supercharger network, which are some of the fastest charging stations in the industry. They also have the destination charging network, which is made up of level 2 stations owned and operated by independent businesses instead of Tesla. These are usually hotels and restaurants. Tesla's stations have always used Tesla's own charging port, meaning vehicles from other automakers wouldn't be able to use them. But now Tesla is starting to build some of its superchargers with the standard CCS combo port used by every other automaker. This will open up the supercharger network to non-Tesla vehicles. Since Tesla is much more than just a charging company, they're able to use the rest of their business to offset the expenses of their charging business. So the cost of charging at Tesla superchargers is usually much less, and they're often better maintained than other companies' stations. Tesla's stock trades at $300 per share at a $939 billion valuation. That's 14 times their sales, 25 times their book value, and 99 times their earnings. Tesla is probably the safest of these 5 stocks to invest in, and it's the only one on the list that I personally own. I'm a big fan of the rest of Tesla's business, and that's why I own Tesla stock. Now I'd like to know what all of you watching this video think of these charging stocks. If you've been looking at some of these companies, make sure to put out what you've been able to find down in the comments. I've got some other great videos on EV charging stocks, so go watch those next, and I'll see you in the next video.